We all have a home park. Whether it's actually close to your home or not, you've probably been there countless times and you know it like the back of your hand. For me, that park is Six Flags Over Georgia in Austell, Georgia. This park is home to 12 roller coasters and I've ridden all of them multiple times. So today, I decided to rank every coaster at Six Flags Over Georgia from worst to best. Even though this may be the quote-unquote worst coaster at Six Flags Over Georgia, it's still a very unique coaster. It's a custom layout that dives in and out of tunnels using the terrain to perfection. My only problem with this coaster is that it's never open, and when it is, it has one of the longest lines in the park. So it's definitely a hassle for a kiddie credit. The newest coaster at Over Georgia is also unfortunately one of the weakest. I do put it over Joker though, as the racing aspect makes it a lot of fun. I love that you go around the layout more than once, and it's always a mystery who will win. Also, the lighting package looks really cool. The mine train is fun. It may have transitions that are similar to those of a Togo with Planet Coaster smoothing tools, but it's a classic ride and it's pretty fun. Also, on my last ride, one of my friends stood up on the brake run and almost got us kicked out of the park. Yeah, don't do that. This used to be my least favorite coaster in the world. It was unbearably rough, and as good as the layout may be, it jackhammered you around the whole ride. But a few years ago, the Gravity group came in and did a complete retrack, which basically saved this coaster. You can actually enjoy the forces now, and as long as you're not sitting on a wheel seat, it's honestly really smooth. But you can't talk about this coaster without mentioning that insane brake run. As time goes on, Blue Hawk gets rougher and rougher. When I first rode it, it was glossy smooth, but on my last ride, the Vekoma transitions really got to me. My neck was getting rattled around the whole time, and I was kinda just ready for the ride to end. But I do have to put it this high because of the crazy forces and head choppers. Also, the double corkscrews on this coaster are like 100 times better than the ones on Corkscrew at Cedar Point. This was B&M's final traditional stand-up coaster, and before Pipeline opened, many people considered it the best, myself included. While it's not the craziest ride, it has some fun inversions, the drop is cool, and the forces are solid. And the fact that it goes through the loop is a really nice touch. Also, it got a repaint a few years ago, and it looks really sleek. While this exact same coaster can be found throughout the Six Flags chain, this installation was the original, meaning it was built for Over Georgia's terrain. The way you fly through the hills and dive through the tunnels make it a really fun coaster. While it may not be as intense as rides like Tatsu or Manta, it still fits very nicely into this park's lineup. Mindbender holds a very special place in my heart. Back when I was like 6, this became the first coaster I ever rode that went upside down. I still remember I rode in row 2, left seat. Even to this day, it holds up as one of my favorite coasters in the park because of its forceful loops and the way that it interacts with the terrain. Oh boy, Daredevil Dive. This coaster's kinda bad, but it's also kinda good. Yeah, it's weird. Some rides I get are like insanely intense and incredibly smooth, and then some rides have literally no forces, and the ride is shaking me around the whole time. The drop is great, the inversions are cool, and the lap bars make it much more comfortable than the other Eurofighters out there. But because I feel like the ride experience is so inconsistent, I can't place it any higher than number 4. If you've ever been to a Six Flags park, chances are you've ridden a Batman clone. But if you've never been to Over Georgia, then chances are you've never ridden this Batman clone. And those chances are 100, because if you've never been to this park, you've never ridden this ride. Anyways, this Batman clone here runs insanely fast. I'm not sure what it is, but you absolutely haul through this layout. All of the inversions feel like you're getting put face to face with the Grim Reaper himself, and the helixes are basically a guaranteed payout. And this is the only queue in the park for a coaster that's actually themed, so it gets extra points for that. Okay, what Goliath are we talking about again? There's like 100. Oh right, the Hyper. Yeah, I've never ridden this coaster because it's in the Netherlands. Oh, the B&M Hyper. Okay, cool. This coaster is by far the best traditional Hyper I've ridden. I say traditional Hyper because technically this is a Hyper, and so is this. But Goliath is actually drawn out hills like you think of when you picture a Hyper, so it's fun. Most of the ride is nothing special, but the helix is crazy intense, and the finale is actually borderline ejector. Also, the B&M clamshell restraints are some of the best in the world. The reason it's not number 1 though is because over the years it's gotten really rattly, because Six Flags can't! This is the definition of short but mighty. Also, I'm really tired, and I already made a review on this ride, so I don't know man, just go watch that I guess.